I'm so excited. I love fall so much. I think, a lot of people do love fall, but I've pulled over for a bit to enjoy the fall colors and to have a little chat with you today, to just kind of go through realistic things that I've learned in my endometriosis journey. And these things I've learned, they took a long time to realize. It wasn't an easy, like, oh yeah, I knew that at the beginning of this journey. Like, these are things that took time and energy to realize fully and to come to terms with and to embrace. Some things were good that I've learned and some things were not so good that I've learned. And I thought that I would just do this quick video to explain those things and to see if they resonate with you. So with that, I will get into the first thing of what I've learned in my endo journey. And that is, I am not alone in the pain that I am feeling. That is a main one that I want to get out there that I've learned. And it was a hard thing to realize because endometriosis, as you are probably aware, is not talked about often. There is not a lot of research or funding or awareness around it. Growing up in elementary school and high school, I never heard about endo. I was never taught about chronic health conditions that might impact individuals that menstruate. So I always thought that the pain that I was experiencing, that excruciating abdominal pain and that excruciating back pain, leg pain, brain fog, chronic fatigue, restlessness, that I was alone in that feeling. And it turns out that I've learned that I'm not alone. And you're not alone. For endometriosis specifically, there are 1 in 10 individuals, and I'm thinking there's more than that because I think it's more common and we just haven't done a lot of research on it, but currently 1 in 10 individuals experience or live with endometriosis. And if I knew that growing up, and if I knew that I wasn't alone in the experiences I was feeling, then I would feel less alone and less isolated, and I would have a community to turn to for advice and support and understanding. I want you to know you're not alone. And it can feel as though you're alone right now, like your immediate friend group or your family may not have endo and may not suffer with that pain, so you feel isolated and alone to talk about it. And I've been there. There's no one in my family and there's no friends that I have that have endo, so I felt really alone and isolated because I just felt no one knows what I'm going through. But we know what you're going through. This person, me on the internet, the person you'll probably never see or never meet in person, but I want you to know that you're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many people in this community that experience that excruciating pain. And so that's the number one thing that I've learned in this journey, is that my pain is valid and I'm not alone, and that there are other individuals that experience the same pain that I'm experiencing with endo. The next thing I learned in my endometriosis journey is that there is a difference between laziness and requiring rest. So I'll say that again. In my endometriosis journey, I figured out that there was a difference between laziness and requiring rest. When you're living with a chronic illness, we deal with a lot of symptoms, and a lot of those symptoms revolve around chronic fatigue, brain fog, and potential insomnia, like not having trouble going to sleep. And I was really hard on myself in my journey at the beginning because I felt like I needed to have a nap in order to have the energy to take on information or to do work or to do the daily tasks that I was responsible for. And I beat myself up because I was like, you're lazy. You just woke up. How can you already be tired? Or, we used to be able to run further than this. Why are you already tired at this kilometer mark? And I was against my own body. We have to recharge after very extremely painful flare-ups. We have to recharge after, an episode of brain fog. We have to recharge after all of these little nuanced symptoms that we weren't necessarily prepared to deal with at the beginning of our chronic illness journey. But rest is an important part of healing, and you're not lazy. And I want you to know you're not lazy. And I'm getting emotional because I beat myself up so many times for resting, and I shouldn't have. And I was putting more pressure on myself and on my health journey. If I can provide any piece of advice to you in your current journey, is that you're not lazy. And I believe you. I believe you when you're tired. I believe you when you need rest and that you need that energy. So if you need to rest, rest, because it's different than being lazy. The next thing I learned in my endometriosis journey is that my pain is valid regardless of what I choose to do with my pain management journey. Everyone's body is different, and everyone's body reacts to different medications differently. Everyone's body reacts to surgery differently. So if you decide to do something for your own body for pain management for endo, your pain is still valid and your story still matters and your endometriosis experience is still valid. You don't have to do a certain thing in order for your pain to be believed. You don't have to do a certain thing based on what the rest of the community is doing, what your endo network is doing. I want you to know, and what I've learned is that my pain management journey is unique to me, and you don't have to do certain things in your pain management journey to match what other people are doing in the community. Please don't let others dictate what you can and cannot do in your endometriosis journey, because it's your body, it's your decision. You've come this far, you know, you've advocated for yourself and your health, so you know what's best for you and your body. I want you to know that I've learned that your pain management journey can look different than others in the endometriosis community. Okay. The hardest thing I think I've learned in my endometriosis journey is that my body is not working against me. My body is not working against me. I felt for the longest time that I was angry with my body. I was angry because I was like, what? How could you do this to me? You know, I thought we were on the same page here. You know, I thought we were going somewhere, and I thought we were on the same track for our goals and desires and dreams, and now you're tired, and now you're causing me to not be able to do certain things, or you're growing this weird tissue everywhere. I have to have surgery now, and I didn't do this to myself, so why do I have to do this? And I looked at my body weirdly too in the mirror when I had endometriosis belly, which is a lot of swelling and bloating. And I said, I can't even fit in my pants anymore. And I was like really hard on my self-esteem and my body. And I was working really hard against my body. And it made the journey harder, because not only was I fighting the healthcare system for answers and resources, and not only was I mad at the educational system at the beginning of my journey because I didn't get the information I needed, but I was mad at myself and my body for giving up on me. And I've learned in my endo journey that my body is not giving up on me. If anything, it's working day to day to get me to where I need to be. And that was the hardest thing to come across and to come forward with in my journey, because if I kept going against my body every day, it would be exhausting, and I would be even more tired in my journey than I needed to be, because I would just be so negative about myself and my body. And so I've learned in my endo journey that my body is not working against me. And so if you're in your endo journey right now, I want you to know that it might be a hard truth to come by, but please be easy on yourself and your body, because it's the one thing you have. And it makes the journey a lot easier when you're easier on yourself and on your body, and that you come to the realization that your body's not working against you. It's not. It's just something that happened, and it's just a little blip in the journey. But be easy on yourself, and it really does help the journey when you're easier and positive on yourself. One thing that I learned in my endometriosis journey is that there are a lot of gaps in the healthcare system for accessibility, resources, and education around endometriosis, as well as gaps in educational curriculums where there needs to be more understanding and awareness made around chronic illnesses impacting individuals' menstrual health and their full body during sexual education and health curriculum systems. I've learned that, growing up, I never heard about endometriosis or PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, or adenomyosis. I never heard about these things. And so when I first experienced that bout of pain, I thought my appendix was exploding because I never knew that periods could be so painful. And I understand that you can't cover everything in educational health curriculums. I get it, there's not enough time. But even if there was a statement made of, if you're experiencing painful periods, please seek out medical advice, or please talk to your doctor. A simple statement that states, painful periods aren't normal, and that it's not just a narrative we should be following with throughout time. You know, like there's a common narrative that exists that states, you know, some individuals just have bad periods, or you're just one of the unlucky ones with a bad period, and that narrative is awful. And if it was just made clear in educational systems where painful periods are not normal and please seek medical advice, I think would be a good first step. I'm an advocate for full-on, you know, awareness and education around endometriosis, but that could be a first initial step to close a gap that I think currently exists in educational systems. When it comes to the medical system, I think there are, again, gaps. I don't understand why it takes 8 to 11 years to get a formal diagnosis for endometriosis or a suspected diagnosis for endometriosis. Knowing that it impacts 1 in 10 individuals, I think that there are a lot of gaps with resources, accessibility, and just plain out, you know, simple information about endometriosis, and, you know, that understanding and lack of dismissal for period pain. I think that there's a gap there that needs to be addressed, and it's a hard truth that I've learned in my endo journey, that, you know, there's a lot of advocacy and legwork that I put in to find answers for my chronic pain and my health, but that I need to be met halfway with the systems that are in place to provide support and resources for me. And it can start with just closing small gaps, and again, larger gaps as well, but I think there needs to be a first step there in closing gaps and making resources and education more accessible and less daunting for us to take on as patients and students. One thing I did learn in my endometriosis journey is that it's not just a reproductive illness or disease. Endometriosis is a full body disease, and I did not know that. And again, that's a gap in the educational system. But endometriosis can impact your entire body. It has been found on every visceral organ in the human body, and I just thought growing up that it was or not growing up, but when I received information about endometriosis, that it was just a reproductive disease, that it was found, you know, on ovaries, fallopian tubes, areas surrounding your pelvic region, but I never knew that it could grow on your bowels, on your lungs, which is known as thoracic endometriosis. I never knew that it could grow on your brain, around your spine. I didn't know these things, and I want you to know, if you don't know, that endometriosis does impact other organs and other areas of your body, and that it's not just a reproductive disease, and that there's a narrative around, you know, taboo topics, and that it's just a painful period is endometriosis, and that's not it. Endometriosis needs to be taken more seriously. It's not a taboo topic to talk about, that it's not just a reproductive disease, it is a full body disease. There are so many other things that I've learned, I'm sure, but while I'm sitting here, it's hard to think of more, but I want you to know that you're not alone in your endometriosis journey, or your adenomyosis journey, or your polycystic ovarian syndrome journey. Whatever journey you're on with your health, you are not alone. You're not. And I'm so proud of you for all of the work that you're doing every day to get to where you are currently, whether that's just having your first flare-up of pain, whether that is your first appointment with your doctor, or you just had your first diagnosis with endometriosis or suspected endo. I am extremely proud of you, and you're part of such a wonderful community that is advocating hard to be getting information, resources, and support. And, you know, I could talk more at length of all the things that I've learned, and I wish I could talk one-on-one with you and to hear about your journey and what you're going through, but it's living with a chronic illness is not easy, and it's okay to not have all the answers all the time. It's okay. And I'm still in my journey too, and I'm still learning along the way. But if there's anything that you've learned along your health journey, please feel free to comment down below, or to let me know what you've learned, because it might help myself and others in their own journey. So with that, I will talk to you on the next video.